one of the teams that is overlooked. Everyone's eyes are on the Texans next year, but the Indianapolis Colts had Anthony Richardson play last year, and it was electric anytime he was on the field, and
Oh
he was
yeah.
making some of the most ridiculous plays I've ever seen. It was nothing but pure energy anytime he stepped on the field. Gardner Minshew was able to keep it together enough for them where he was able to hold that core unit together to give them hope enough to believe that they could make the playoffs. Unfortunately, they ran into CJ Stroud and the Texans in their division, and the Texans ended up winning it. However, I'm super optimistic about the Indianapolis Colts. Shane Steichen proved he was a rock star. If Anthony Richardson stays healthy this year, learns the offense, this is going to be one of the most fun teams to watch in the league. So please give me some salary cap and draft hope this year.
Yeah. So for the Colts, looking at them real quick, they have one of the most I think they're the fifth most cap space in the NFL. They have $72 million this year.
Say it again. $72 million. Oh my God.
Yeah, a shit ton. And they could also save some more money restructuring certain deals. Like if they were to restructure Quinn and Nelson's deal, they'd save $11 million. That's 72 plus 11. That is $83 million. If they were to restructure Braden Smith's deal, they would save $6 million. 83 plus 6, that's nearly $90 million.
It is raining in Indy, Jesus.
So what you alluded to before the show, I'll let you have your thunder there. But what I would do with some of that cap space, I'll look at the free agents, see who they have to fill. But I would go try and keep Michael Pittman if you can, and then sign another wide receiver.
Yeah.
Why not? Josh Downs looks like he could emerge and be arguably the best receiver on that team next year.
Yeah.
And then try and sign another solid tight end wide receiver. But you had an idea for tight ends. They have some of all the teams in that division who could really use a solid tight end. The Colts are the most interesting.
Yeah, I'm sick of seeing every time that Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson would throw a pass to a tight end, Mo Ellie Cox, on the screen, and you're a fine player and you're good at what you do. However, the Indianapolis Colts in their draft this year need to focus all of their sights, all of their capital, all of their efforts on obtaining one Brock Bowers at tight end, because when you have someone as dynamic as Shane Steichen, and he proved he was the one behind the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl run, you'll have Josh Downs, who's turning into a Swiss Army knife, electric wide receiver. You have Michael Pittman, who stepped up this past year and was definitely an improved player under Shane Steichen's system instead of the disgraced Frank Reich. And then you have someone as dynamic as Anthony Richardson, the run game of Shane Steichen as well with Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor. You add Brock Bowers to that mix when you can afford to go out there and trade for someone like a Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Adams, or a Stephon Diggs, or at least add a number 2 wide receiver, maybe someone like Calvin Ridley or someone in the draft even, and then you focus everything else on defense and the rest of it. The Colts are going to be that team next year.
Yeah, and some of their free agents that they'll have to take care of, I think there's really only one that super stands out to me, and that's just Michael Pittman himself. If they can re-sign Michael Pittman to a team-friendly deal, maybe you give him like 18 to 20 million. I think he's definitely worthy. Maybe he looks elsewhere, but I know he likes the city of Indianapolis. We have Grover Stewart, who is getting older. He's 31. Will they re-sign him? Will they not? Kenny Moore, he's been on that team for a long time. He's a fine corner, but I think you should maybe look elsewhere. They got the mustache. Will they keep him? Will they not? And then other than that, we got like Rigoberto Sanchez, the punter. Can they replace him? Always a tough position to fill, as we know. Zach Moss, he was good for them last year as Jonathan Taylor was slowly getting back acclimated.
He may get a bag. Could you see him going out there and be like, hey, look at what I did last year. I'm not going to sit behind Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach Moss. I look at a team like Arizona, for example, who James Conner is gone.
Yeah.
You can go after James Conner is a little bit more expensive, and I think Zach Moss has fresher legs. Maybe the Cardinals go after Zach Moss and say, you know what, we'll throw him some money and see how he continues to develop, because he took a giant leap from Buffalo to Indianapolis. Can he do the same in Arizona? Who knows? But that's a place I think he would work.
You know, like so like the Colts after that, like after getting like another weapon, like after they draft Brock Bowers, you need interior defensive line help. You need safety help in corner. Then you're pretty good everywhere else. Maybe you draft an edge rusher. If the Chiefs don't open up their wallets for Chris Jones this year, Go get him.
Imagine.
Go get him.
Get Chris Jones on the Colts. God, that division could be so good.
He would look sick in the uniform too.
I see it.
Yeah.
100%. That'd be a great fit. And yeah, I think like of all the teams, like the one that I'm the most optimistic of, even a team like the Texans are right there with them. Don't get me wrong. We'll talk about them next, but the Colts, they have an opportunity to be the most underappreciated team going into next year. We know how Shane Steichen should have been on the coach of the year list. He wasn't quite just because he didn't make the playoffs, but 9-8. This is a team that lost their starting quarterback almost immediately. I think he got hurt in week 3, out for the season. Gardner Minshew stepped in, who we always said deserves a starting role. He stepped in, played pretty good for them. And then even with Jonathan Taylor, there was noise there. There was noise. They still had the echoes of Jeff Saturday there. And then they still managed to, the last week of the season, have a chance to make the playoffs. So you go there, maybe you trade up, you get the Brock Bowers, as you mentioned, which I'm in love with that. I think that's the one thing that's really missing on that offense. They have Jonathan Taylor. AR's dynamic. Their wide receivers are pretty good now. Go out there and get Brock Bowers. Please. Mo Alley Cox is fine, but get him out of there.
Yeah, and the thing was, when Jonathan Taylor was cooking in that Texans game, it was just the secondary was locking down Michael Pittman, and Josh Downs was able to get free at points in that game. But you add the dynamic of Anthony Richardson, where we're like, hold up. He's as dynamic as Jonathan Taylor. And then you have to worry about him as a quarterback. And then you have Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, two of the best. Josh Downs is like the fast skill receiver, and then Michael Pittman as a pure wide receiver. And then you add Brock Bowers at tight end. Talk about one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And then you can probably steal him away from the Texans, who are eyeing him in the draft, but they traded away their draft pick and it worked out for them with Stroud and their other defensive rookie of the year that they got in the top 3. But then you're like, okay, we'll go out here and then add a dynamic tight end here. And then we'll also probably add help on defense. And we can really open up our wallet for adding someone like Khalil Mack, Chris Jones, even the defensive tackle. I believe it's Chris Wilkins coming out of Miami, or we could sign someone like a Justin Madubuike from Denver. Like just one of those defensive linemen. You draft an edge rusher. Safety is a priority as well. So the Colts, very optimistic. I would put 110 out of 100 for the Colts next year.